Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. Today I'm going to show you an easy way that you can paint a portrait with acrylic paints. And grab this sketch in the description below, trace it, and then you can paint along with me. So when you do a portrait, you want to start by toning the canvas. I'm going to take a spray bottle, I'm going to wet the paper, and then I'm going to take a burnt sienna paint. This is a brownish orange color. I'm going to put a little bit of that straight on the canvas. Then I'm going to take a large wash brush, get it wet. And then I'm going to bring this paint all around the piece, covering the face, going back and forth. And I just want to cover the portrait. And that's going to help a lot so that we can get our values correct. And also so those skin tones will show up. Okay, so just get a nice layer, and if you make your sketch dark enough, then you should be able to see your sketch underneath the paint. And I'm also using the Stay Wet palette. That is so that my colors will stay wet and blend a little bit easier. So let's start with a size 1 dome brush. I want to mix up a gray shade, so I'm going to take some of this brown, a little bit of this grayish blue, a little bit of white. So I want just a light color so I can start putting in the eyebrow. This dome brush will help you to get some nice light blendable strokes, really soft. And then I'm going to put that on the left side. Let's get more of a rich brown. Come into the center. So we want it a little bit faded on the outside, then richer in the center. And now I'm going to switch to a size 0 round brush and focus on the eye. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and then put a little bit of black for a pupil there in the center. Then I can also bring that along the lash line. And then put some gray, so I could take some white, mix it with that black, and just put a little bit of gray around that eye. And then some blue. Just gonna put a little bit of blue in there for a reflection. Okay, so now let's look at that eyelid. So I'm gonna take this beige color and a little bit of the pink. And then put that around the top of this eye. Maybe a little bit more pink. And then I'm going to bring this pink around the eyelid. And then take some of this light beige here that has kind of a pinkish tint to it. Put that in the center. Try to get those colors to blend. Okay, so underneath the eye, let's take some of this light yellowish beige and put a little bit of this color underneath the eye. And then underneath that, we have a bit of a shadow color. So let's go back to that light gray we used for the eyebrow and bring that under the eye, just as a light shadow. Could bring a little bit up around this area too. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of that beige pink, put it on this left side of the eye, and then take some of the black, and then just fan that eyelash out. Okay, so now let's look at the lips. I'm going to take some of this gray that we mixed up, put a little bit of that in between the lips. And then I'm going to take some of the bright pink, put that along the bottom lip. I want it to be bright and intense. And then I'll go along the top. Then we'll get lighter. So let's take some of this lighter beige pink. See if we can get those colors to mix. If you need to add more of the pink, you can go back and add a little bit more. I'm going to take that shadow color, put that along the top of the lip. And then put maybe a little bit of white with the pink up here as well. Okay, so let's look at the nose. I'm going to take some of this pink and some of the brown. And put that color in this nostril area. And then I'm going to bring it around this curve of the nose. And I'm going to bring some along the tip of the nose as well. Okay, and then I'm going to use this color and put it inside the ear. And then up around this corner. Just creating some of these shadows in the ear. Then you can take the lighter beige color and go around the rest of that area. And bring out that flesh tone of the ear. And you could put a little bit of, let's put this lighter white color. It's like a creamy color in the highlighted areas. Okay, so let's keep working on the nose. So I'm gonna we'll take some of this beige and the pink. And let's start building, we'll use this color to start building some of the nose. Come along this edge. Going along the outside. Thinking about where the shadows are. And then I want to get lighter, so let's pick up this. Let's actually take a little bit more beige, mix it with this pinkish beige. Let's bring that down next. Trying to get a gradation here of values from dark and then into a lighter color. So now I'll take the lightest pinkish beige, and I'm thinking about where the lightest values of the nose are. So around this section here, and then up where the eye, where it gets closer to the eye. And then a little bit down this way. And curve it a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch brushes. We might work with this dome brush. A fan brush is also good to use, or a mop brush. I'm gonna try to find the smallest one I have. And let's maybe work on the forehead first. That's a good place to start. So for the forehead area, let's take some of this purple color. This light purple makes a beautiful shadow. I'm going to add it to some beige so that it is a skin tone. And then let's start putting it up here along this forehead. Okay, so I'm just putting it in softly. And this brush is really nice and blendable. And then as we get out this way, the skin is getting lighter. So let's pick up some of this lighter beige, just a little bit on the brush. And we'll bring it down. Then we can put some under the eyelid, just really carefully. Just doing these really soft colors and blends. Okay, we'll bring it down. And then I'm thinking, we'll bring it down this way. I'm thinking about where some of these shadows are. Let's pick up some of the purple. And then I'm also going to pick up some of this blue, mix that into the beige as well. And then let's put that under the eye. So that's a nice shadow color. Bring it under the eye here. I don't want it to be too dark, but we want that shadow. And then I'm going to bring that shadow along the chin and under. Let's go around. So we'll put some under the ear and then along this chin. Okay, and then underneath here. You can see how light and beautiful these shadows are with this brush. Okay, and you can go back, pick up more color, and add more shadow if you need to. And just remember to keep blending and getting a nice effect. Okay, so as we're getting over here, we need to get lighter and we also need to get warmer. So let's pick up some of this light color and I'm going to start bringing it down along this chin. Then I'm going to think about getting more pink. So take a little bit of pink, mix it in with that beige, and see if that creates beautiful soft pink for the cheeks. Okay. And then rinse the brush because that pink is so intense. I'm going to rinse it and then go back into this beige. And then while the paint is still wet, let's try to blend that. Again, it can be tricky because the acrylic paint just dries so fast. That can just take a little bit of practice. Okay, so I'm going to take this white and I'm going to bring it down along the chin here. And I don't know if you can notice, but everything is going to be drying a little bit darker. When I first put it on, it looks super bright and white. But then because of that acrylic, it does dry a little darker. Okay, I might put a little highlight here where that shoulder blade is. Okay, so you could go back and add some more layers. Any place where that orange of the paper is just showing through a little bit too much. Go back and add some more paint. And again, you can think about where the highlights are in the face and just bring those forward. If you need to put some more pink in certain areas, maybe along this tip of the nose, bring some of that in to create a little more cohesion. Soften everything out. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good for the face, just as a demonstration to show you. And let's look at the hair. So I'm gonna switch, let's try using a fan brush. So we'll take this fan brush and we need some burnt sienna paint. So let's add some of that in. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the dark color. So we have that burnt umber. And I'm gonna put it around the outside edge for the hair. And you could also put a little bit of black in there if you wanted to really increase that contrast and that saturation. Maybe put it in just where the shadows are. Put some up here where the hair is pulled up. And then up along this area. Okay, so we have some of that dark value. And I'm thinking about the direction that the hair is growing. So I can make these nice painterly brush strokes. Keep it pretty loose. Okay, you can try to get close to that, to the skin and the hairline. And then I could take some of this bluish gray color and put a little bit of that in. That creates a shadow. And then I'm going to take some of our burnt sienna and start putting that in. Trying to cover up some of this underpainting here. Okay, I'm going to come back with the darker color. Try to blend that in and get everything to be a little more smooth and cohesive. But again, I'm using these painterly brush strokes and trying to keep it loose and wispy. Okay, and then you could take some beige. Think about where the highlight in the hair is going to be. And you can just put that in. Nice and light and wispy. Highlights, think about where the light is going to be hitting the hair, and put those in. Okay. Okay, and then if you wanted to take a zero liner brush, you could take that, and you can take some of that dark color and you can start bringing down maybe some wisp for the hair, go around where the neck area is and around the back here. This brush is also good for putting in highlights. So you can play with that as well. I'll show you a couple highlights with this brush. Get some nice hair-like texture, so you could get really detailed if you want to pause the video and take your time with getting details in the hair. Okay, and I think we're going to call this demonstration complete. So that is how you can paint a portrait with acrylic paints. I hope you give this a try. If you want to dive even deeper into acrylic painting, check out my full program linked in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.